Hello, welcome to my Skull Enterprises microbrew podcast, where we talk about future, past, and current events. Hello, my name is Roman. Thank you for joining me today. You can watch this on Facebook or YouTube. Doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm just gonna dive right in. UAPs. All the rage this year, it seems like, with Trump releasing the UAP files, said a lot of nothing, you know. Um, what I think is happening with the UAPs, I think it's old blimp technology. Do you know those blimps? You ever heard of the Hindenburg? The Hindenburg blew up, and I believe it was 1937. Okay, so the Hindenburg blew up in 1937. It took a total of 35 lives. Um, so let's fast forward to today. We have we have like this ball that's flying over us really fast, constantly, right? Really fast, constantly see different UAPs and all sorts of good stuff. We see the Tic Tac, all these things. What do all these things kind of remind me of? Well, they kind of remind me of a blimp. It's kind of like a blimp, like helium-based blimp. It'd be a lot easier than a mail system. Just imagine sending devices wherever you want to go with nothing but a little helium in there just to take it right away. So let's talk a little bit about the Hindenburg. So I can teach you something today. So the Hindenburg disaster in 1937 took a total of 35 lives. Okay, pretty terrible. Now, I think literally they're bringing it back, and if the government wants to call it UAPs, well, let's call it UAPs. But I think they're just blimps. They're just blimps, and if we think they're UAPs, all the better. There is 3 facts about these UAPs. 1, the government is involved. Okay, and 2, well, that famous Roswell crash. You guys ever heard of the famous Roswell crash? The Roswell crash out of Roswell, New Mexico. Okay, it was pretty cool. Some farmer was walking around and he saw literally crashed alien little parts and pieces or whatever. They call it debris, right? He found alien debris. That's pretty interesting stuff. And then a little while past that was an actual crashed alien spaceship. An actual crashed alien craft. Wow. Pretty badass. Pretty badass. But I think all this UAP talk is just to usher in this anti-gravity technology that will be released in the next 10 years. Yes, I said it. Anti-gravity tech will probably be released in the next 10 years. Trust me on this, okay? They show you all this stuff just kind of as a distraction. They also have the Epstein files at the same time as this. Well, I think this UAP is just a distraction. Because we all know a bunch of big names are on that list. Not going to get into that right now. It's way too much going on there. But yeah, the UAPs are definitely very interesting. And it's kind of funny. It's actually kind of funny because because all of a sudden they're talking about flying saucers. That's what we used to call them. We used to call them UFOs, not UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Like, where the frick did that come from? It's kind of, I don't know. It's different. But I guess that's just a new way to talk about it. Anyway, so what do all these what does the UAP have in common with CERN? You got to ask yourself that. You got to ask, what exactly is CERN doing at the same time these UAPs are all going off and flying over our head? Or these blimps, so-called, thanks to the Hindenburg crash, thanks to those poor 35 individuals, But yeah, so we do know we got three facts though. We know we got three facts for the UAPs. One, the government is involved. Two, they have the technology that they haven't released to the public. I believe there's a book, right? There's a book that they have in a vault. Um, Unreleased technology for the next 30 years. It's all in this book. So they have plans for us for the next 10, 20, 30 years from now. Probably more. I'm going to tell you, before television was invented, it was in that book. Before radio was invented, it was in that book. Before cell phones were invented, in the book, etc., 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 yada, yada, and now we got the Wi-Fi. It was all in this book a long time ago. It was all in their book, their secret book that they have locked away in some sort of a headquarters or something like that, probably in Area 51 itself. But, the funny thing though, so one, the government has technology that has not been released to the public yet. And two, the famous Roswell crash, where the government was all over it. So the famous Roswell crash was pretty interesting stuff. Happened in the 40s, okay? Some farmer, approximately 1947, okay? Some farmer was walking around, probably picking crops, doing his regular farm boy stuff, when he came across some debris that was just kind of littered in somewhere on his field somewhere. I don't know the whole story, something like that, but he found this supposedly alien debris. And then a little past that was some craft, probably about a mile away from the debris. It makes sense. Well, the government got a hold of that craft and they built a whole city over it. It was called Area 51. That's how Area 51 began, with the famous Roswell crash. A little while later, microwaves came out, etc., etc. Now, funny thing about that though, Area 51, a weird place. I've never been. I've only heard rumors, seen videos. Whenever you go to the area though of Area 51, you see a lot of helicopters, you see planes flying over it, you see searchlights, just crazy stuff. Heavily monitored area. Trust me, I would know. So, like I said, all three of these things, scientists gone missing, Roswell crash, and then the unreleased technology. All of them have one thing in common: the government is involved. How are they involved? Well, they've hidden tech from the public for years. They were the first people involved with the Roswell, and a lot of those missing scientists were working for or around top government officials. Pretty crazy stuff. But of course, all this is just to usher in anti-gravity technology. It'd be pretty cool to be watching the TV and then you see what comes up must come down. Well, not anymore, because we have anti-gravity tech. Wow. And after that, maybe flying cars. Finally, we get to see these flying cars, right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But let's talk a little bit about CERN and what they're involved in, because CERN, we all know CERN is very concerning. CERN is kind of concerning. And for the people in the mountain states or whatever the fuck, they don't really know about CERN too much. Well, they're coming out with all sorts of rumors now that CERN's opening up portals, that they're slowing down time, speeding up time. Does anybody else feel weird? I don't know. But yeah. So the thing about CERN though is they are smashing little tiny particles together. I think it's particles of ice. I think it's ice. Little chunks of ice that they're smashing together at near light speed. Right? Why are they doing this? They're trying to discover a new particle or a new element, trying to figure out the cause of the Big Bang or whatever have you. Trying to figure out how the universe itself was created. Also trying to discover antimatter. Maybe all the above. Maybe they're trying to build a black hole. Maybe they are trying to open up a pocket dimension, pocket portal, you know? Yeah. We all know other things that can go in your pocket as well. But now you can have a portal in your pocket. Pull it out, bam, reach my hand in there, and it goes to Canada. Reach it back out. I don't know. I can come from Africa to Canada, like snap of the fingers, just walk right to this portal. That'd be pretty crazy. It'd be pretty crazy. But all this is happening out of Switzerland, though. That's where CERN is. They have a giant tube smashing these little particles together at near light speed. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. The Switzerlandians. They're not called that, but I'm going to call them that. Switzerland's a crazy place. Apparently, I'm going to build a big ass tube and smash particles together at near light speed. Pretty crazy. But yeah, they're definitely doing something up in Switzerland. Definitely doing something in Switzerland. And that's the weird thing about it. Definitely the weird thing about it. Also, happy 4th of July, by the way. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Always avoid the month of July. Why avoid the month of July? Well, I mean, I guess if you're a tourist, you might like driving around, but still, it's too crowded. It's too crowded. It's too many people. It's too hot and humid. People's opinions these days vary and differ on so many different subjects. You got race, religion, and politics. Yuck. I stay away from all three of those subjects when I'm talking to a friend. But on my podcast, we're going to talk about a couple of those things. We are going to talk about a couple of those things. Mainly going to focus on the UAP and CERN stuff, and we're going to go beyond that too. We're going to go beyond that. But I've said it once and I've said it again. Avoid the month of July. It's hot. It's humid. People's opinions vary and differ. Groups and groups of people plus intense heat equal what? Fights. Kind of like E equals MC squared, only groups and heat equals fights. Brawl time. Pretty awesome. Not really. I try to avoid confrontation, in all honesty. I really do, It's just stupid to dwell on people arguing and fights, and it gets you nowhere. It gets you absolutely nowhere. In fact, it makes you dumber. Like those poor UFC guys. Blows to the head constantly. Those guys can't even talk when they're older. So, yeah, I want to get into a lot of fights, and I want to destroy this already punch-battered brain. Come on. Not really. So, let's go about 1,400 miles east of Russia, or of Switzerland, okay? Where Russia, so we got Switzerland, you go east, and then you got Russia. Let me just check my paperwork here and see if I'm correct. Yeah, it's about 1,400 miles east of Switzerland, okay? Where these two Russian daredevils originally came from. You know what I'm talking about. What's their names? Some Russian name. The two Russian daredevils go by the name of Angela Nikolov and Ivan Kuznetsov. It's weird to say, but we got Angela and Ivan, the two lovebirds, 33 and 32. Those two are no strangers to the screen, being the stars of the Netflix documentary Skywalkers, a love story. Well, I'd say this love story took the cake. When Ivan proposed to Angela on the tippy top of the Empire State Building. Pretty cool. Pretty crazy place to propose. Wow, if that's a proposal, just imagine where the wedding's gonna be, huh? Just use your imagination. But, so if I was these guys, here's what I would do is I'd go skydiving, right? And I'd have my wedding in midair. I'd have the groom jump, I'd have the bride jump, I'd jump, or whatever. I'm the groom. See, that just shows you how much I know about weddings and shit like that. Bride, groom, bridesmaids, it's all just a mess. It's all just to get money from something, from somewhere, probably to the woman after she signs the prenups. Ha! Anyway, yeah, so you have the ordained minister jumping, you have the groom jumping, you have the bride jumping, As the groom, I'm gonna put the wedding ring on the bride's finger. Wow, just imagine that. Just imagine trying to put a wedding ring on the bride's finger in free fall. Anyway, doesn't really matter. I'm just being funny. But I now pronounce you man and bird. Ha! So, yeah, whoops, that's man and wife. Anyway, they were arrested and charged with, get this, reckless endangerment and burglary. Wow. Tell it to Batman. Good Lord. That guy's probably got a million burglary charges. He breaks into doors, busts down doors, climbs up rooftops, trespasses all the time just to get some psychopath with some smile painted on his face. Anyway, like I said, you tell it to Batman. Only their cape was a banner that read, when the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace. Wow. Their banner actually said, I'm going to read it again. When the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace. That's actually a true statement. It's actually a true statement. Yeah, it's pretty weird, pretty cool. So, yeah, and that Angela was even wearing a Batman mask, even, too. She's wearing, like, this Batman mask thing. All I can say is, give me an invite to their wedding, right? It's never too late to learn skydiving. Where's my invite? Come on. Get me an invitation. I want to go to someone's wedding. I've never been to a wedding before in my life. I'm going to start then. I can't start now. Anyway. But yeah. There's the whole story. You can't see it from here. I'm not going to show it because of some sort of a copyright infringement thing. But anyway, yeah, the story's there, and, it's pretty weird. Pretty weird. But, what we're going to do now is I'm going to tell you a little fun fact about Russia. You know how many data centers are in Russia? 194 to 251, making it the 11th largest data center market globally. So about that, though, the thing about all these data centers, though, okay, all these data centers they're all building them for these micro cities and smart cities. Now, for those of you that don't know what a micro city is a self-contained high-density urban development where residents can live, work, and play without needing a traditional commute. That's what they want you to think. But the truth is, it's just a surveillance grid all for control and monitoring. That's right, they want to monitor you and control you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. If there's cameras everywhere, it might prove your innocence. Let's say you do a crime and you get falsely accused for said crime. Well, I'm gonna tell that person to check the fucking cameras that are everywhere. Who knows? Might not be a bad thing. But yeah, but it is a bad thing. Those micro cities are a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you have to burn down a small town just to build one in that same small town. Like the Palisades Fire. You ever heard of the Palisades Fire? How many homes? How many people's pets were affected? I'm going to tell you, if my pet got affected, I'd sue somebody. I'd sue whoever did that. I'd sue the people. They want to say it's all because of this debris on the side of the road that's catching on fire from something, and they also want to say it's from like they're not giving proper funding to the fire department down there. It's all for underfunded fire departments. That's what they say the cause of it is, but I don't know about that. You got to ask yourself, okay, they'll probably build a smart city in the Palisades. Give it some time, but they probably will. Just imagine that, okay? They burn it down, and then this beautiful smart city comes up. I wouldn't call it beautiful. I'd call it death. It's terrible. It's terrible. Just like I said, how many pets got affected by that? Lame. All for what? For money? Control? Power? Come on. E always equals MC squared. Just like pi always equals 3.14. Yeah, so let's go down the list of everything we've talked about today. We talk about UAPs. We talk about possible secret blimp technology. Thanks, Hindenburg. Thanks, 35 poor souls. It's terrible. But that happened so long ago, who cares, right? Who cares? Hell, these things happened such a long time ago, who cares? Sure as shit, they affect in our future. We talk about Roswell. Talk about micro cities, smart cities. Talk about CERN. Concerning CERN. Actually gonna open up a portal. Are you CERN? Hello. Where, like, it'd be easier than a phone. Can I talk to these portals? I don't know. Just saying. Interesting stuff, though. This year has been a mess. Just a mess. Really has. Yep. It really has. We've accomplished so much, though, this year at the same time. I mean, we even had fights on the White House lawn this year. That was good. Did you guys watch that? Because that was actually pretty good. There was some weird, it was kind of weird, but it was good for the most part. And that's all I'm going to say about that, just imagine being a UFC fighter, though. You get so many blows to the head, and then you can't even articulate a sentence. Hell, you might be like me. Anyway, just imagine living in 1937, though. Just imagine being on the Hindenburg thing, and the whole thing blew up. Helium's definitely flammable. A giant bomb in midair. Not very fun. Not very fun at all. But yeah, so I hope you took my warning to avoid the month of July, because I'm only saying this from the heart. This is only words from the heart. Telling you to avoid the month of July because, unless maybe you like hordes of people. Maybe you like all these groups yelling at you or yelling about this or that, or maybe you like to get into fights. I don't know. But I know I'm just trying to do a damn podcast, okay? Because I think they're cool, I think they're rad, and I got some stuff to talk about, obviously. Obviously, you want to talk about that. Anyway, I wish I could say, oh, let's take some calls. I don't got a phone system set up. But yeah, these guys, though, I just can't believe you would actually literally climb a skyscraper just to make a proposal to a relationship that's probably not even gonna last. You go through all that and end up getting a divorce. Isn't that actually kind of hilarious? Kind of funny. Kind of funny. Just ask it. Okay. So just like I said, there's a lot of data centers in Russia. Isn't that weird? That's definitely new new news to me. Huh. We're gonna see how many data centers are there built in the US of A. I'm gonna talk about that for a minute. Wow. 1,500 to 1,600 new data centers actively in the planning or construction phases across the United States. This massive infrastructure boom, driven largely by the expansion of artificial intelligence, will add to the approximately 2,300 to 4,000 facilities that are already operational nationwide. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I wouldn't mind having a little R2D2 in here, though. Kind of help me out, maybe. Maybe it can move some furniture. Maybe it'll tell me a joke. Maybe it'll do both at the same time. Cool. You're gonna move my couch while telling me awesome jokes? Cool. That sounds amazing. It really does. Sounds amazing. Yeah, but yeah, that's a lot of data centers though. That is a lot of data centers to have, in the US of A. Well, I've said before, America is just a test ground for different technologies as well. You know, definitely definitely a testing area for all these different devices, all these weird little things. And the people are so into it around here. It is amazing. More and more and more people are getting into AI. You always heard at first everyone's like, "Oh,